What's up, everybody? So I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on the 300D OM617 5-cylinder. This one's a turbo diesel, but it's the same for the non-turbo diesels as well. First thing you want to do is remove your cap. So your oil filler cap, I always just put it in a place that's pretty easy to spot. But why I do that is for ventilation for the drain. Tools you will need simply is a 14 millimeter socket. I usually just do an extension like this. Bolts for this are 14 millimeter, as well as your drain nut. Oil, that's $1 million question. I love Shell Rotella T4 diesel oil because it's just tough. And it's got high zinc content, and I use it in all my vehicles, including non-diesel. So that's my preferable choice. Winter months, you can run a thinner. I just run 1540 all year round. Excuse the mess there, but as you can see, I undid the plug right there and get the motor warm. But it's relatively easy, and you just want that to drain all the way out. Make sure you remove the top cap up here for your filler. Back here is where a lot of people have issues. You have all these vacuum lines, and you just gotta be really delicate because this whole housing, you undo this nut, and you're gonna undo that nut. And you're gonna have this cap off here, and you just wanna be really careful when pulling this out because it's gonna leak. And diesel oil is like squid ink. It gets everywhere and it sticks. So just be really careful with that. So you got your cap off, you got the block, the oil pan, not the block, draining oil, and just let it kind of sit. You want to get all the oil out. And like I said, remember, make sure the motor's nice and hot. It doesn't have to be boiling hot, but get it to where you get the oil flowing. These things hold a lot of oil, like 8 point some quarts, and so I usually just get the 2 big jugs here, and then the oil filter for these is also absolutely giant. So, but Wix is a really good brand if you're wondering. I've had excellent luck with them. And I'd say the biggest thing you got to watch out for when doing an oil change, these things are really easy to do the oil on, is when you're pulling this housing out, you got all these vacuum lines, and just make sure everything's moved away because this whole housing is going to come up, and that's what contains. So people will be pulling and all this, and then they disconnect a, vacuum line, and then something's not working right on the vehicle. So get it to where this housing can come out, and it's just going to come straight up like that. Like I said, 14 millimeter bolts, same as the oil pin. So once you get that clear of everything, I kind of pull this out and I let it sit here for just a little bit to drain the excess, because I love diesels, but my God, diesel oil is the worst, and it gets everywhere, and so you can hear it dripping. And then honestly, you just put the new filter back on, slide it back in this housing, clear all the lines, make sure nothing's pinched. I use a little oil for the O-ring that comes with the filter, and that makes sure that seals up. And I just kind of smear the oil around the O-ring. And then what I do is, this is the actual oil filter housing, and just kind of look, that is where my thumb is right here. This is where the new O-ring will be placed. I replace it every time. Some people say you don't have to, but it's just cheap insurance. And then this goes right back into the original housing. Top off the oil with, obviously your fresh oil. Make sure that the nut to the oil pan is tight, but do not over tighten it. That's the biggest discrepancy I could say to anybody is, does not need to be torqued to 100 foot-pounds, just snug. And it makes your next oil change a lot easier. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them in the comments, but that is an oil change on a 300D. Thanks, guys.